So, welcome back to another trading recap. And just like I said last Friday, I'm going to start making weekly recaps from now on, since I realized that there is no real point in making daily recaps for the days where I don't take a trade. And I think it's just better to compress the whole week into one longer video. So, let's get right into it. So starting off the week on Monday, my bias was bully despite this big push down was made on Friday, and I wanted to us to reverse from this point to go to all-time highs once again. Unfortunately, I failed to realize that the 4-hour structure was bearish after having broken structure to the downside from this big push, and thus my bias was incorrect. Before market opened, I marked out these 2 hourly lows along with my targets here, and soon after the chop near open, market came down a bit and took out these lows, and then it rallied afterwards. And since it had not hit my target yet, I entered once we had retraced back into this fair value gap and this equilibrium with stops just below the gap and target at one of my key areas, I guess. Unfortunately, as you can see, this did not happen, and I got stopped out fairly quickly within less than an hour. And yeah, I can see now what mistake I made, which primarily was my bias. In fact, that was my only mistake, since had my bias been backed up by something significant, this wouldn't have been at all a bad entry, and I wouldn't have cared at all, or I wouldn't have been mad about losing it. But now I'm a bit frustrated, and I'm looking to improve on in the following days. So on Tuesday, my bias was actually based on something this time, since we had recently broken structure to the upside on the 4 hour. And before market opened, I marked out these two hourly lows right here, right here, and right here, with my reasoning being that if price dumps past these lows, then I'd want to see an immediate reaction from these ones in order for me to be comfortable taking a trade. And that reaction did happen. We did break 5 minute structure, but unfortunately, once again, I missed my entry by 0.25 points. I had my entry placed just below equilibrium, which was just missed ever so slightly, and thus I missed this trade, which would have been a really good one actually, with target price just at around these highs made post New York session open. But unfortunately, I missed it once again, which is the third time this has happened in the past 2 weeks. And if this happens once again, I'll definitely look more into it. I've even now made a sort of mental adjustment, although I'm not putting it into practice just yet, since I'm waiting for one more example. And I'm thinking of maybe taking entries from not equilibrium, but the 618 retracement. That may be a possibility. But yeah, once again, good reasoning, good idea, good everything, but the market just didn't want to go my way and go basically a quarter of a point lower in order for me to also enter. So yeah, that kind of sucks. I couldn't have entered from here since that would have gotten me a bad RR. So yeah, let's hope Wednesday I actually goes good and I can catch a trade, hopefully a winning one. So the following day, I actually managed to take a trade this time, but unfortunately, it was a break even. The bias was good, entry was good, confluences were good, everything was good about this trade, but price just moved horizontally. So, bullish bias yet again due to high time frame structure. We had news an hour before market opened, which pushed price up, and then as I saw price push down once market opened, it entered this equilibrium as well as this hourly fair value gap, which didn't get closed below, and it also made a bullish SMT with MES. I entered from here following the 5 minute breakout structure and order block retracement and a confirmation candle out of the order block zone, with my original target being around here, but half an hour later, I lowered it to around the 1 to 1 risk reward. And then another half an hour later, I exited the trade at break even after seeing this sideways price action. Lucky for me, I exited just before this dump, which would have brought me now close to my stop loss. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow and Thursday I can actually get a decent trade, which maybe hits profit this time. So coming in on Thursday, my buys was still bullish from the previous day, and unfortunately this was a no trade day for me today. I was, just like I said, originally bullish, and I was bullish up until these highs were hit and these highs on Nasdaq. Unfortunately, as soon as market opened, price immediately just rallied upwards without giving me any retracement opportunity to enter from or any liquidity sweep or something interesting. And yeah, another no trade day. Let's see how I end of the week. So coming in on Friday, I was still bullish just like the previous days, and thankfully I managed to catch a successful trade this time. I noticed that as soon as New York opened, price came down and filled this hourly equilibrium and made a bullish 5-minute S&T divergence with MES from these pre-market lows. Following that, I waited for a 5-minute break of structure and a retracement back into the order block to look for an entry. And I entered near the close of this 5-minute candle out of the order block. I put my stop loss just at these lows and I targeted for a 1 to 1 since we were at all time highs and I didn't really have any significant places to target. And thankfully it worked out. Around halfway through TP, I moved my stop loss just below these newly formed lows to de-risk a little. And thankfully I didn't get stopped out and price just kept going upwards. I could have held for a while longer actually, but I didn't have any real reason to. And yeah, I'm thankful that I ended off the week with a good trade, and I'm hopeful to see what the next week holds. So, to give a short summary, I ended up taking only 3 trades this week, one of them being a loss, the other being a break even, and the last one being a 1 to 1 risk reward win, which basically means I ended up on almost break even this week, just a little bit above. Not the best week, definitely not the worst. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what next week holds for me.